Let's pull up the chat. What's going on, Weather Master? All right. What's going on, Psycho Trucker? How are we doing? First, let me check how's the audio. I'll turn the music down a second, a little bit, anyways. But let me just check, make sure the audio is good before we get going here. Everything sound clear? Yeah, hopefully. Everything sound clear? Awesome. Here we go. Let's get into it then. Why waste any time? So I know there's a lot of there's a lot of different thoughts going around. I'm gonna pull up some. I'm gonna pull up some of these tweets for a reason. So what you're seeing a lot right now with models is we're seeing it's not necessarily windshield wiper effect, but I told you the train tracks are set for what's going to come. The train tracks are set for what's going to come. Okay, a snowstorm is coming. I'm telling you, a snowstorm is coming. Now, trying to pinpoint the exact specifics of how big of a snowstorm, this could be minor. If we see the trends like we have today, then this could be a pretty minor snowstorm then, compared to what it looked like could be on the table. But that doesn't mean that the pieces still aren't on the table for this to be a pretty significant snowstorm. They're still there. They're still there, and I think a lot of people just need, I said relax or don't. Here are my thoughts. And the reason I'm saying that is listen, I've been at this long enough now. I'm not going to try to control people in the hysteria or try to control the narrative or whatever. I tried that for a couple of years. It's too hard to do that. People are just going to react how they want to react. But you got to understand at the same time that my thoughts are my thoughts, okay? And I'm not gonna let, that be swayed from, a day of model runs, okay? If this was completely gone, we saw something shifted, then I should have saw the red flag before that, to show that there's absolutely no snowstorm. That's not the case. A lot of the pieces are still on the table. They just adjusted. So if you take a look at some of the latest GFS runs, you notice this will show it really best because notice when you look at this, you're like, what the hell am I looking at right here? You just look how strung out it is. And this is the reason that gives you pause for what could come, but it's also the reason that should give you, it gives you pause in terms of there could be a lesser event, but it also could give you pause for what you're seeing on model runs right now. Because model runs got to figure this out. What you're seeing is, if you take a look at the height lines, this will show it's a little bit cleaner on tidbits, and that will show. Yes. Notice on Tibbetts, the height lines. All right, over the last few runs, they've been a little bit more flatter or consistently. Right, it's a little bit more amplified. A lot of these height lines are. Right, but now since we've strung out all this vorticity, right, this flat here being amplified and allows the storm to pull in all this moisture, right, consolidate low, and we dump snow in this region. The problem is what we're seeing now is we're not getting that consolidation of the upper level. Everything is such a mess. It's having such a trope. That's why models you're seeing way different heat maps run around. That's why you're seeing what you're seeing. but the pieces are still there. The pieces are still there for this to happen. It's not like we just saw everything completely go away, even though, it may look like that on some of these runs on the GFS, and even on the GFS, it was an interesting scenario where it actually consolidated the most amount of energy towards the middle part of this, right? And so we see a new upper level low develop. It sheds off that original upper level low, and you almost get a new storm. And actually, you can see that consolidates eventually. So I don't know if that could be a whole new evolution to watch. It's probably nothing, but it's just an observation from that model run. I think it's important to take into consideration waves of emotion on Twitter. They're there. They're definitely present. Yeah, we'll take a look at the Jets as well. But you guys gotta consider too, right? What am I, or you don't have to consider, but if I'm telling you what I'm looking at on these model runs, it's for me every single time I look at it. I use the example of when you're watching a basketball game or a football game. Or, I'm going to use this example is when you're watching the game, right? You have a full season, and you want to see, if your team how they're going to do in the playoffs, how they're going to do in the Super Bowl, right? When you have a full season like that, and and in my opinion, how the similarity is, right? You have all these regular games leading up, right? At the beginning of the season, right? You don't know. There's some signs that they're a really good team, 7 days out, let's say, for models, right? And then all of a sudden you get closer, and you're like, okay, this could maybe be the real deal. And then all of a sudden, maybe you have a stretch of games where you're not playing good basketball. You gotta look, or good football, whatever. Then you gotta look in the grand scheme of things and say, "Did this really take away from them not being successful come postseason time?" I don't know if that's too elaborate of a analogy right there, but I think that's an okay analogy to use in the sense here is when I'm looking at models, I'm trying to paint the picture and put all the pieces together and try to figure out, okay, what does this what does what we're seeing now on this model, what can I take from it to see what the end result is gonna be come Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? Because that's what's gonna matter most, right? All of this is noise technically, right? Even if it was clear cut, all of this is noise. If all the models are agreed, it's still we have time for these things that need to get together, right? And the reason why I think a lot of people could be overreacting, some, maybe not, depending on how this develops, is first of all, the GFS has progressive bias as well. So it's gonna struggle consolidating, right? The GFS has a tendency of latching on to certain places, right? So all this excess convection out here, right, gets strung out, so it's gonna have a tough time even wrapping this in, right? For example, on the RGM, it's still pretty strung out, but you'll see I don't know, I'm not 100% familiar with some of the biases, but you look at the RGM, that's a scenario that plays, right? Even then, it has a little bit tough time just wrapping in. It wants to consolidate this upper level load right here, right? South of Long Island over South Jersey. That's where it wants to consolidate. But it just has a tough time doing that. It gets a little bit strung out. This piece comes in here, and it wants to wait a little bit before it can try to wrap and gain some more latitude a little bit, right? And even then, CM's pretty good. Canadians are really good snowstorm. Um, I'm going to talk about places to watch with this. We didn't get a lot of more sadly, we didn't get a lot more clarity on where exactly and who exactly is snowstorm today, which kinda sucks, but that's expected. When you have a lot of noise and when you have what models are doing right now, it makes it difficult, right? And that nothing's changed in terms of my thoughts on the train tracks first snowstorm in it's the same thoughts, right? You have your block in place, even though that's changing, you'll see that will change a little bit more, but that will come pretty clear once we get Thursday, Friday. What needs to be figured out some still is, first of all, right, the energy is coming ashore, you can see just starting to a little bit 0, Z, but tomorrow is where that upper level low comes to shore, and I don't know what to make that you can want about it, or not, but it's US mainland, that will all get that into the models. From there, we'll get a little bit better picture, I think, tomorrow night. And then once we get Thursday, Friday, I think we have a pretty good of what's happening, and then from there, then we can start looking at specifics, banding, is this Mid-Atlantic to Southern New England? Is this New York City to, uh, Southern New England, a little bit interior, where exactly are we looking at for snowstorm? And the timing and the consolidation of that upper level low is critical, which I talk about here on this tweet. It's absolutely critical, right? I'm telling you, this is all that matters, right? And it's complicated, and it's a lot that needs to happen, but this is really all that matters. Is when you look, it's a mess. It's a mess. But figuring out where exactly that upper level low is going to consolidate. Where does the energy in this go to, right? We get a little bit more stream interaction and separation here between this piece and this piece on the Canadian, right? And that allows, right, this whole blob here to try to consolidate and form an upper level low. And as we play this through, notice it does a decent job. It just struggles a little bit. It wants to wrap up a little bit, gets this last piece, so slides out a little bit more. It has trouble fully wrapping. Right, so the evolution of this, it's gonna define who gets the most snow and how much snow is gonna come. Because until the pieces are there for this to still be a really dynamic upper level low, they're still there. They're still absolutely there. Okay, I'm not going crazy, right? There's other people talking about what I'm mentioning too some is this is what's gonna allow everything to happen. The location, the timing, the evolution, and how, really, right, we have that negative tilt. You have that negative tilt. So we're gonna be wrapping in something. So there's gonna be some sort of snow, even if it's pretty strung out. You're tapping into moisture that's meeting, um, decent cold air, right? It's not true Arctic injection. We're not looking at, teens to mid-20s, but we are looking at, like, 20 to 30-ish, that range, like 24 to 32-degree range. So it's decent cool air. It's sufficient amount of cold air. Now the thing is, I mentioned this with the Atlantic, one of your problems is if you're early, right, if you're in the Mid-Atlantic, what do you want to get a snowstorm? If you're in, um, if you're in DC, if you're in Northern Maryland, you're in southeastern Pennsylvania, you're in central Jersey and southward, for places a little bit further north, like New York City and, near the Southern New England coastline, it may not matter as much, which kind of scenario you get more. But you want this thing to wrap up early, right? Wrap up early and then slide out, right? So then you're just popping heavy snow all over here, right? You're popping heavy snow, right? You an upper level low, not all too far off from the Canadian, honestly, right? You get that upper level low, somewhat consolidates, and then it it can't gain latitude as well. It doesn't go over you; it goes slides out. So now you're just throwing back the flow, and you're meeting that cold air, and you're getting some pretty heavy snow for 6 to 12 hours. You're getting heavy, and that's the scenario you want. That's the scenario you want. You can get H5 to close off here. As weird as it looks, the configuration of this, right? And that is how you get the most snow in the Midwest, and that is how you get a 6 to 12, 8 to 14-inch snowstorm for places in the Mid-Atlantic. Now that being said, the ceiling gets a little bit more limited when you do this. If you really can get this thing to consolidate and amplify, you can see the height lines are a little bit more impressive, and that's why you're seeing a more amplified solution on the Canadian versus the GFS. You see how much flatter these height lines are versus if we look at Canadian. See how we're getting that rise right here, right? So now we're really negative, and also we have a more consolidated upper level low. Throwing this convection to meet this cool air. So you're getting heavy snow into there, right? And that's how you make out. But if we get something, let's go back. Let's go back a little bit. Canadian picked up on this last night. Canadian was the first one really to pick up on the strung out vorticity thing. So I don't know if it's ahead on anything or it's just whatever, but I'll give Canadian credit, at least picking up on the trend. Doesn't mean he got the end solution right, but Canadian is not. I don't think it's. I'll put the euro and the GFS to a higher standard. But when we're in that like 2.5 to 5, 6-day range, I'll hold more weight than I will on the Canadian one until we get closer. Then you start using the RGM and the Hyros because those will solution that will it's higher resolution, so we'll do a little bit better. But if we throw us back to 0 last night, which I thought was just a gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous model run. What you notice here is, right, a little bit better stream separation between these two. It gets less strung out. Notice how a little bit less flat, we get that little rise here. And same here, we get these height lines to dip up, and we're just throwing back. We got heavy snow, right? We got heavy snow into here, and we're just throwing back that moisture to meet that cold air. And now at this point, you see that wrap up and then slides out, right? Because then that's when you get that stream interaction happen, right? And then you just sit and you pivot, and you get heavy snow all across into here, right? And that's kind of what we're looking for, and that's I think that's the best case scenario for everybody, right? Obviously, I make out better on that coincidentally, but I'm just trying to highlight you can't make everybody happy. You just can't. But the most that is how you get the highest ceiling event, and that's how you get the most people to get in, even though you probably cut off your total. You still get some snow in Mid Atlantic, but you cut off DC and you cut off Jersey, Delaware, South Jersey. You cut off here a little bit more from their snow totals with that kind of solution. That doesn't mean you still don't get a period of heavy snow, but that's the solution that best gets everything right. Everything's a little bit more separated a little bit. You allow the consolidation of that to happen, and you never know as well, right? Some of the pieces we're still 5, 6, or not 5. We're still about 4.5, 5 days out, right? So we're still about 4.5. Let's go back. Yeah, and if it's more amplified, it'll be a little bit slower as well. So that's we're still about 4.5, 5, 4 to 5 days out, roughly 4 to 5 days out. And so when you're trying to pinpoint everything that's happening, um, with this mess, right? You look at this, all right, where do I look at? How or if I'm looking at this, right, how it goes wrong is that you get the models to what rarely does verify kinda like this, is it latches onto some of these area, everything gets really strung out, and you get a somewhat eventually an area consolidates a little bit, but then you get maybe a 3 to 6 in a small swath of, 5 to 8 or something, a smaller swath of 5 to 8, right? And then maybe you get some you get a little bit inverted IVT and you throw it back, right? And that's more of a longer duration, and then maybe not longer, but you get period of heavy snow, but more moderate snow versus a longer duration heavy snow event. When I say longer duration, I just meant in regards to what we've been seeing on models. Now, if you look at this and say, well, this looks like a mess. So what am I looking for this to go right is, well, I would look at this and say, this looks like your strongest area of spin here. And typically, that is where you're gonna see low pressure want to form, and then that is where you can see that consolidation happen. That's where you see it wrap up, right? It wants to wrap up there. That's where it wants to wrap up, but it's having trouble because this is getting caught in the flow a little bit too much. So you want a little bit more stream separation. Doesn't mean you need complete, but you need a little bit. You need this to delay a little bit more, so this can wrap up a little bit sooner. This can all pull in a little bit better. All of this that's getting thrown out to sea, and even GFS has some convective feedback, so which is why I think there's definitely some opportunity for there to be a more amplified solution, even if this was just the case. That 2 to 4 day time frame, I can't tell you how many freaking times that we've seen convective feedback issues. I haven't even talked about that yet. That's just for reference. I haven't even gotten into that. So much convective feedback issues with a system you would see, especially with this a southwest flow event where everything is really strung out. Right? That's another aspect that I'm glad I mentioned right there because this. So if this were just to happen, what it's trying to pan out, we would see in the coming days. You'd see a little bit better solid, it would be a little bit less messy, potentially, but get a little bit more separation, just a little bit more, delay this stream interaction a little bit more, allows everything to wrap in a little bit better, and you can start to see these white lines amplify more, and then you get a strong upper level low to get somewhere that will pass somewhere from New York City to somewhere off Delmarva. I think that best describes, um, what can go wrong and what you need to go right here, but GFS even kinda tries to consolidate upper level low, so that's how strung out it gets. The 2 different areas it tries to wrap in that vorticity, it gets so strung out on that solution. Actually, that's kinda interesting. It's the most east I've seen it in a minute, but that this storm has to wait a while. This storm, for anybody who's trying to figure out this thing right now, it's not the pattern does not favor the way they're ridging. It's gonna be see all these see this ridge here? This is gonna wanna dive up. So all this ridging is gonna prevent a good chance for a snowstorm in here. But this for anybody who's trying to figure out this, we're trying to figure out this thing right now. So this still has to come through on Friday, and then we gotta figure out this thing. So there's still a lot that needs to be sorted out, in regards to this. No way, is the mic really that bad? I might have just been talking away at times. I'll move closer. Alright. Is NYC in game? Absolutely. Absolutely, New York City is game. What would the potential start and end time be? That's a good question. Um, this trend is 150 miles north on Friday. What do I think about CMC? I'll cover that. Central Jersey's in play absolutely for this. Central Jersey can get, I'm not gonna say you're guaranteed. I would put a little bit north of I would favor a little bit further north of Central Jersey, but, uh, has there been some sampling done? There's sampling constantly done. Every 6 hours, you'll new models will ingest stuff. Will the potential start and end time of the storm be at this moment? Yeah, that's the one I wanted to cover. So the earliest this could start, let's say Jersey, New York City, or let's say, Mid-Atlantic, the earliest this could start is Friday night, late Friday night, Saturday morning. That's the earliest this could start. For Jersey, Saturday morning, New York City, Saturday morning, that's the earliest this could start. And then for New England, I think I got that right. Am I tripping? I wanna say Saturday morning. I mean, shouldn't break my own rules, but yeah, here we go. The earliest this could start is Saturday. You could get some if it gets really strung out, then you get some flakes, some small flakes Saturday morning across the Mid-Atlantic. Really, Saturday midday is the earliest this could start, and then Saturday evening. Don't look at the P-type for this. Um, but I'm just showing you the earliest, right? Because when it gets strung out like this is a solution that could maybe happen, then this is the earliest. And then Saturday night is the earliest this could start for New York City, and then Sunday morning, late Saturday night, Sunday morning for New England. I'll delay this a little bit more, we slide it back, uh, no, that's not what I want to do. Mic a little bit better right now, guys, too, hopefully. Is Central Maryland still in game? Towards the coast, it might be a little tough. but it's possible you can definitely get some snow. And if this would be then if we get a little bit more amplified solution, then we're looking at a Saturday night start probably from Maryland, DC area, Mid-Atlantic, and then New York City is late Saturday night, Sunday morning, and then Sunday during the day for New England. Let's take a look at the Jeffs. No. Slide back. Slide back now. Here we go. You can see how strung out it is over the Jets, right? Because it's really having trouble. Um, it's almost two different parts. It's really one to latch onto. So if we slide this back, can I? Yes. Run before that. Run before that. Run before that. Notice here, right? We have a little bit more stream. Right. This is delayed a little bit more, and then we have this is where it wants to intensify our upper level low versus this. See the difference? It's strung out, right? Still, right? Most of the models want to consolidate that upper level low. So this will help clear out some of the noise in terms of where where the GFS was trying to make that upper level low close off or attempt to, but you can see just a little bit too much interaction. See your height lines here? And then if we look at 0Z last night or whatever, I think 060 was the one. Well, the timing is even a lot more different, but I wanted to draw the height lines, but damn it, I drew them wrong. It's these ones over here. Right, and then if we slide that now and you look at the difference for you can see the difference, right? See a little less amplified. These intersect instead of parallel or even more amplified. Is West of DC in game? Yes, absolutely. Do you think it's concerning how different the GFS ensembles are from the main ensemble? No, I don't know what you mean by concerning exactly too, but it really the GFS is an operational model itself. It's not technically one of some people like to say it's just one member. It's not. It's its own member. But some people kind of view it that way, and I don't think I don't view. I don't personally. But all these different members, right, that they feel aren't good enough to be operational, or whatever it is, I don't know the exact reason. But they put all those together, and then see if we did we looked at this. See, they put all these lows together, all these different those are all those L's are different model runs, and the reason it also I think this is not helpful at this time is this is not a storm to follow the surface low, so it's a storm to follow the upper level low, but those are farther southeast, a lot of those mixes, but again, if if the operational is struggling this much, that means all these ensemble members are probably having a tough time figuring out where to consolidate a lot of that vorticity as well. So that's just something to take into account too, right? The Jeffs may think you may think you're getting a clearer picture, but that's not necessarily true potentially. Uh, the Euro, if we look at that from earlier today, we'll get a new run in about an hour. I'll hop off. I'll be off before. If we take a look here, right, Euro consolidates everything a little bit better still. I think it's handle the Euro. This is the kind of time frame with this kind of system that the Euro will handle a lot of this stuff a little bit better. Um, right, and even then, it's still a lot of really can't just it's really struggling to wrap this in. It's getting so the flow is so linear that it's really having trouble, wrapping that moisture in the system, wrapping that energy in. I mean, take a look at the difference from 12Z there to 0Z. I guess it's the best I could that's as far back as I can go. I wanted to show the 12Z yesterday, but point remains the same, right? You get that little bit more stream separation here, allows us to wrap up early, but then you just want this to hold up a little bit longer. But this really dips far south too on this one. It does gain that latitude, just has really trouble, wrapping in that 0Z last night and the 12Z today. Just don't get the same sort of stream separation. I don't really worry about what everybody else. I have a certain few that I follow, um, that I know who I can trust information from. A lot of other stuff just shows up on the timeline, but you know, I know how to filter out certain thoughts. And also, I just see how they line up with mine, and I put in perspective and say, you know, just contrast my thoughts. What's their reasoning behind it? And either move on or put it into in the back of my mind, or maybe it goes to the front of my mind to be like, maybe I gotta look at this a lot more right now, what they're talking about. If I haven't already noticed it, but I'm not perfect at this. I've messed up many, many times before. Many, many times I messed up at this before, but I just try to do I've been for years now, and I've just been trying to perfect it. The more knowledge I gain, the easier this gets, but, I'm just trying to do the best I can. I don't make any much. I just trying to I like streaming, and it takes a lot of work, or some of the stuff you guys don't see in terms of preparing for the stream, what I need to do, sometimes finding a quiet room, all that fun stuff, but being able to give this to you guys I enjoy it, and I enjoy it for myself too. It was a little bit selfishly too. It's fun to do this stuff, and I typically gain a better understanding too when I have to teach not teach, but when I have to explain what my thoughts are. When I explain what my thoughts are, I can clearly visually see what I want to say, and I do it on Twitter a lot with those posts, but sometimes it can be difficult to be specific in terms of what I want you guys to understand, like the tone, how I say it, what I'm saying. Yeah, PA is still in game here. No reason Pennsylvania is not in the game here. I mean, I guess it depends on where in Pennsylvania you live, big state, but a lot of eastern and central Pennsylvania is very much in play here, even, southwestern, western PA as well, absolutely. Yeah. But again, I feel like we went over a lot of stuff, and I think that was good, and we can clearly I can we can clearly pinpoint what exactly we're looking for in each model run and try to pinpoint some of this model noise. Alright, that's what I was talking about. That's what we talked about a lot. Um, Jep's come out yet? No, I don't know. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts? I feel like I'm missing one more thing. Do you think what do you think Merrimack Valley will get? Merrimack Valley is very much Merrimack Valley, excuse me, Jesus, very much in play. Um, Again, a lot of it comes down. I don't want to guarantee anything though, just because it's hard to say exactly what this evolution is going to look like. But I can tell you, it's going to be a much clearer picture. 48, 48 to 60 hours from now. Much I feel like we have a better idea. Um, Maybe not from yesterday, but in terms of a couple days ago, and that's usually how it goes every couple days. Every the picture becomes a little bit clearer there. Long Island, rain, mixed snow, or nothing at all. Um, I think at a minimum you'll get something. I think Long Island's in a good spot to at least get something here. Um, one problem is though you do rely on it, right? That's right. Once that once the surface low starts to take over, once that starts to take over and that you start wrapping in that cold air, that's what Long Island relies on a lot to get some heavy snow. But dynamic cooling and et cetera under heavy snow, you can get good banding and maybe some IVT or depending on what it looks like, you get some back end snow as well. CAD gonna be a factor? Yeah, I think some. The high is a little bit weaker on a lot of these model runs, at least I think so. Not significantly, but the cold air isn't wait, is it 1035? Oh, I might be tripping then. Yeah, if we got like a 1035, actually stronger. It's just a little bit the placement of the high is a little bit different, a little bit further north, so it's not weaker, but it is a little bit further north, the location of the high on a lot of these latest, over the past couple days. But yeah, that will play a factor, but it's still a little bit too I don't wanna go into CAD signature stuff. I'm trying to figure out the strung out vorticity right now, not models. Do you think it's concerning how different you asked that question already. I don't think it's that concerning. I don't think concerning is a great word to use for that, but I went over a lot of that stuff if you missed it about 5 minutes ago. So, but briefly, what I was saying is you gotta remember that Jeffs have all those different members, and the operational is also just one, but if the operational is struggling, then you imagine all those ensemble members that, are doing, right? They're probably all a mess as well. The vorticities kinda suggest that given how strung out it is and already progressive and weak model, and then you have all those right, and ideally, there's so many different variations in physics and the computing that they do into those models that you can maybe get a consensus because it's showing all the different scenarios, but it's hard to say, right? In summary, you want a little bit more stream separation. You want a little bit more stream separation between these 2 pieces, right? You want this to take over early, and then this can come in later and slide it out. That's ideally what you want to get the most people involved and reach the ceiling of the snowstorm. Again, the pieces are there. It's just a matter of the evolution and the timing and how models assess everything over the next 24 to 48 hours. And then once that system kicks out on Friday, we'll have a lot of our stuff ashore. And even then, voice is raspy. Even then, I talked about this, I think, this morning or at some point today is right that next system that's coming next week, midweek next week, or early midweek next week. That right, this all it's connected to this as well. This piece is playing a bigger factor. I knew it was gonna play a factor, but it's playing a bigger factor, than I had anticipated on it a little bit. You know, I noticed the stream interaction, how everything was getting strung out a little bit, but, you know, now it's really becoming our model runs became a much more important factor. I guess I don't know about any less important, but, um, it did in regards to getting a snowstorm here. So that comes ashore about yeah, so that plays a factor, right? It's just the orientation of how this trough, how this all things coming together. See everything a little bit tighter wrapped, the orientation, and then now we're seeing more of it, everything's getting a little bit more elongated, strung out, so we want everything to be a little bit tighter. Um, that just has been the case. Ucommit was a great run. I don't really look at that thing often, but I can look at it, I guess. Um, Ucommit. I know Pivotal gets 500 for the Ucommit. Eh, let me pull this up. Here we go. Throw in your questions too. We'll wrap this up pretty soon, but just throw in any last questions you guys got in there too, and I'll answer them for you. Or you can look at a different model runs if you want. Yeah, I mean it's interesting, right? Um, right, some of this it uses this. It never really super consolidates, but it's pretty similar to the euro actually, where it just turns into a big trough versus a complete elongated mess, and head of upper level low consolidates here. You get a good snowstorm back to here. Yeah, a little laptop. But as soon as I turned on Pivotal, the laptop started getting loud, very loud. Jeez, I forgot. I gotta stay towards the mic. My bad. So yeah, trend. So, I covered all those. I mean, this whole stream has pretty much been centered um, around that. If you're just joining in, you can replay this right after. I'm not. I promise I'm not trying to be rude. I just there's a lot. I had a lot of different thoughts. Gone for about 45 minutes talking about that. You can also if you have questions about your specific or comment, um, or you can tell me right now where you live. Um, I mean, yeah, a lot of times the Ucommit does they come um like a lot of the same they're the same, so a little bit different physics, but they have some similar. Ucommit used to be they stopped updating it though. We did check the CMC. We already did. That's the Canadian. I don't know why a notification. I don't know why a notification didn't come out for you guys on YouTube tonight. So all right, that's gonna do it. I'm just gonna assume Billy's gonna stream tonight as well. You guys got any more questions? You can DM, comment on myself. I'll be posting relatively, but just be watching TV and follow the models basically for the rest of the night. So I will. Uh, I'll be on Twitter, and we'll probably do this again tomorrow. Pretty confident.